wait, I don't know, I guess we should probably wait. See if anyone else is going to join us. All right, we got 4 o'clock. I will call this meeting to order, and I have a recommendation here moved by Dan and seconded by Brian that the agenda for the November 8th, 2022 Township of Wellington North Recreation Parks and Leisure Committee be accepted and passed. All in favor? Thank you. I do not have any disclosure of pecuniary interest. Brian? Dan?
Nope.
All right. If you do come across an issue where there is pecuniary interest, just let us know and recuse yourself. All right. Thank you. And we have a few deputations here, at least 3. And we will start with, excuse me, the Arthur Agricultural Society. This is about the barn repairs and renovation options. And I have a recommendation that the Recs Park and Leisure Committee receive for information the deputation from the Arthur Agricultural Society. I'll say that was moved by Dan and seconded by Brian. And with that, do we have someone here, Tasha or Mandy from the Arthur Ag Society?
Hi, Councillor Yake. Councillor McCabe. We have Chris McIntosh and Gerald and Mary Townsend. So I've just moved them in as panelists. If they want to turn their cameras on and unmute themselves, they'll be able to share.
Great. Welcome, Chris, and welcome, Gerald and Mary. I see that both of your screens are muted. If you can unmute yourself, that would be fantastic.
I did so. That's a handy button to have.
Welcome and hello, Chris. There we are. There we go. Welcome to the meeting and thanks for making the time to be here at 4 on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon, not a cloud in the sky. With that, I will pass it over to Chris or Gerald and Mary. Which one of you want to start with this?
I guess I will.
Okay.
I was asked to speak on behalf. So good afternoon. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Chris McIntosh. I serve as the treasurer and a board member for the Arthur Agriculture Society. And I'm asked to speak to the committee just on behalf of the board. So just a little history lesson for you. For those of you who don't know, because none of you look near as old as what I'm going to talk about. The Agricultural Society became into existence and started hosting the annual fall fair in 1856. So this year we celebrated the 166th fair and in-person fair. We returned after 2 years of COVID virtual fairs for a couple of years. So the first fairs were held in Kenilworth in 1856, and then in the late 1870s they moved to Arthur and were held on the grounds of what is now the Christian School across from the old town hall, now the seniors hall. And in approximately 1890 the society purchased a triangle shaped lot, which is now the recreational facility grounds, and at that time was called the Village Common. A farmer might retire, move to town, and he brought a milk cow with him, and they were milked in the morning, and then they wandered up through the streets and ended up pasturing up at the commons there. And later on, that's where the fairs were held, and they had the great racetrack and fairgrounds and grandstand, etc. In June of 1958, the society agreed to sell the property to the Village of Arthur at the time for a sale price of $1. And the purpose agreed to was to allow them to develop a recreational facility and plans on a future arena and recreation center. So there were some specific conditions set in that original agreement, including the amount of money, obviously, and including some items such as yearly use of the grounds by the Agricultural Society, responsibility for repair, replacement, maintenance of buildings, insurance of buildings, involvement of the Agricultural Society as part of the Recreation Committee, and for any potential future plans for development of the grounds at that time. So if you're ever interested, some of you have seen that agreement. If you're interested in seeing that one, we'd be happy to send a copy along. I think there may be one on, I'm assuming there's one on file at the township, and that would have been, that amalgamation would have been taken over by the township, assumed by the township that. So anyway, the purpose of me addressing the committee today is regarding the grounds, the Agricultural Society barn on the existing grounds there. So that building is about 50 years old. It's developed some structural issues that need to be addressed. And with any organization, we've had to look at the building and look at the needs going presently and going to the future. So with that in mind, we formed a committee, and we've done a look at some preliminary options, repair the building, renovate the building, replace the building, etc. We have been advised in speaking to some people at the township that our first stop would be at the Recreation Committee to make them aware of thoughts, and also to get some idea of what we potentially could or should do from the perspective of the Rec Committee, and maybe future development plans, what they that is planned by the township with the property in mind. So we recognize this is at just preliminary stage, but basically what we're looking for is to get some indication, for starters, as to what we may or may not be able to do there with the building, or some kind of change. And I think that's really all we're really wanting to know, is a little bit of direction. We don't want to go down one path and then find that it's just not a possibility whatsoever from the perspective of the township. So if a little direction is what we're looking for to really start to get our thinking caps on. We've done a little bit of costing, but we don't want to spend too much time at certain options if they're not available. So I think that's it in a nutshell from our perspective. If you have any questions that would help you to clarify or to go forward with that, we'd be happy to entertain them.
Great, and thank you for that, Chris. Gerald or Mary, do you want to add to Chris's presentation before we open the floor?
No, I think Chris did a good job of summarizing, and we are looking for some guidance and ideas. Thanks, Steve.
Great. Okay. And with that, I will open the floor to Councillors Yake and Deputy Mayor Milne for any questions before I ask some of mine. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Steve, and good to see you again, Chris. It's been a while, I think, since we've laid eyes on each other.
Yeah, it's just 2 or 3 years ago.
I bet.
We were young men then.
Oh, we are still young,
Yeah.
or maybe we're just men. I don't know. Anyway, Chris, what are the nature of the structural issues of the barn?
The barn is a pole barn structure,
Mm.
and that's probably the wettest spot in the entire grounds. Not well drained, and the posts of about 60% of the posts are rotted off at the ground.
Mm. All right, thank you.
And just that, Brian, did you not replace the fence there not too long ago too, Chris?
We did approximately, well, I'm going to say 3, which was probably 5. Again,
Yeah,
same,
okay.
same issue, rotten posts, and
Yeah.
they blew over. At the time, the recreation facility manager wanted to just put chain link fence, the same as what was around the rest of the grounds. We elected to go back to the solid fence because we have larger posts for tying cattle to during the fair for a wash station. So at
Yep.
that time, we did the work ourselves. We paid for that. The facilities manager had asked us to send along a cost for the post, just the big, large posts themselves, which we were reimbursed for.
I think Dan and I remember that. Okay, thanks, Chris. Dan, do you have any questions?
I don't think so, Steve. I think, it's Township's always willing to work with the agriculture societies and help them out and make things better for them as well as the community. So I don't think there'll be any problem with the township working together and giving Chris and his committee some guidance on how to proceed.
Right, thank you, and you're absolutely right. I've just a couple questions maybe for you, Chris and Gerald and Mary. What, aside from the posts, what are you thinking of doing? Building out, building up, putting cement in? What's your kind of thinking? Or in a perfect world, what would it look like in a year?
Well, we don't know in a year because there's the costs, as everyone knows, costs have gone through the roof on everything. Somebody would tell us that oh, you'll do that for X number of dollars, and it's going to be considerably more than that. We've looked at the options of repairing it by putting bracing in the posts, by replacing the posts, jacking up the building to renovate. The building is actually too short now for most of the things. We have to let air out of tires to get wagons in and out and so on.
Right.
So if we're doing something, you might consider either lifting the building. There's a few people who would like to see a little bigger building, a little more space. So again, we've looked at all kinds of options and dollars ranging from 40,000 to 120,000, depending on options and so on and so forth. But without really a direction as to what we could or could not do, we haven't gone too far down any of those alleys.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. I guess maybe Matt and Tom, I'll ask you, what can they do? Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Yep, yeah, through you, Chair McCabe. I guess from my standpoint, I don't think there's any issue with kind of expanding on their existing footprint, but I think that's a bigger question as it relates to the zoning bylaws and if there's implications there. But expanding on the existing footprint, I can't imagine is a big issue. Otherwise, staff really hasn't given much consideration to expanding the footprint at this point, but certainly can.
All right, what, like if you're just envisioning the building that's there now, what kind of space is around that for them to expand or lengthen, like widen it or lengthen it, just to give everyone an idea?
Potentially, right now, the building on, we'll say the west end, it could not be expanded because it's the curling club and the cooling plant for the curling club are relatively close there. If you want to go east, well, we'll say northeast. If you want to go by the compass towards the township buildings, there's considerable room there. And I don't know, the barn's built right against the property or against the fence line, and where the property line is, I don't know. Going to the we'll call it the southwest towards the arena itself, there's lots of room there. That's where the show ring and so on is. So if it were to be extended another 10 feet, it certainly could potentially be accommodated anyway.
Okay. Any other, oh, yep, go ahead, Dan.
Chris, I was just going to ask you, like, would the ultimate best scenario, would it be to build a new facility rather than to try to rehabilitate the old one?
Yes, in answer to that, it definitely would be better to have something, because we could use a little more size and a little more height, and the cost of the actual cost, having been in the construction business for a number of years, I was a little surprised at the cost of what it would cost to renovate compared to something new. But it would be great to have something a little larger and newer and done a little differently to eliminate these problems that we have now. However, our cost is a consideration, certainly.
Sure. But if you had some sort of a preliminary design and size as to what you were thinking, whether, whether it's next year or 2 years, 3 years down the road, would that be something, would that be a starting point then to maybe start to work with the building department and say, hey, this is what we're this is where we want to build it. This is the size we want to build it. Where do we go from here working with the building department?
Right. So we're at that point now. We've actually haven't done any drawings or anything such as that until we got a little more direction, but we have talked to a few builders and looked at what kind of cost there'd be involved in a little bigger structure. So we have already started the ball rolling, but essentially stopped it from getting too fast, going too fast down the track.
Right. Okay.
I think we looked at replacing it at one point, because we even thought about the possibility of having a show ring inside for our 4-H. That was one of the options. So we'd certainly look at a different size building.
Yeah.
But we also thought when we were discussing it originally that maybe the township has some plans as well that we could piggyback on and work together to maybe provide something for them as well, if we're going to go to the expense of a new building.
Sure. Good idea.
You're talking about maybe storage of equipment down at the arena, are you, Gerald?
Yeah, or even anything as a multi-use barn too, if there was something that could be incorporated into that.
I know in building I was involved in building the new building that's out behind the arena, which was before it was actually completed. Several of the staff were mentioning how they were going to fill it already and could start the next building. So I don't know from your perspective, that's staff, and then they always want everything undercover, I guess.
Well, there's always a partnership idea that can be put out there. So
Yeah.
That's always another avenue to look at.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris and Gerald and Mary. The committee has any more questions or ideas? Matt, I guess what would you suggest our next move for this be? Would we push it to council, or I'm sure they're looking for some sort of like Chris and Gerald and Mary had said, some direction. So
Yep. Yeah, I guess from my perspective, if the ask is to maintain the existing footprint of the building, I think committee could push that forward, but committee could push anything forward. I just think what I've heard Chris say is maybe what they're looking into is fixing or repairing their existing structure, which I don't think the township would have any issue with. I just think there's a bigger conversation if it involves expanding that footprint. And that's something that probably requires a little bit more conversation, but
yeah,
as far as them repairing what they have in their existing footprint, I think this committee could put forward a recommendation to council that council would endorse. I'm just thinking to myself that it's not going to be till December 5th, but I'm sure council would endorse what this committee decides as it relates to allowing the Arthur Agricultural Society to repair what they have. I don't think anyone's going to dispute that.
now, having said all of that, and I know Chris, you said you've already been chatting with the building department already.
Oh, sorry, Steve. We've been chatting with builders.
Oh, builders. Sorry. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And just to clarify, we do not have the funds available today to pop up a new building. Being a nonprofit organization, we don't have them today. So it's not starting next week.
No, right. And what, with that in mind, sorry, and Brian, I'll get to you in 2 seconds. What kind of a timeline do you guys see on this?
We do not have anything defined whatsoever.
Okay. All right. No, and that's fair. I mean, this is the first we're hearing about it. So, Brian, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and I don't see Tom on the call anymore. I don't know where he went to, but my suggestion would be that Chris and his committee work with Tom to come up with, if there is a collaboration to be had, then work with Tom and develop, you know, whatever needs, or whatever would meet the needs of both organizations or both groups. And, you know, then bring it back to committee. And if we like what we see, then push it forward to council. I think that's what Chris, I think that's what Chris is looking for, is to who should he work with and that kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe even do a site visit or something like that, just to see what we can see together. Brooke, sorry, did I see your hand up? Yep.
Yeah, through the chair, I agree. I like the idea of doing a site visit and bringing a few key staff together to talk about options. I have some additional questions, just since I'm also new to this, you know, around the ownership and the current usage and potential usage, all those things. You mentioned a lot of really good points in the discussion. So that would be my suggestion too, is we'll get a few of us together to meet with the Agricultural Society and look at what the range of options are, what the needs are, the timing, all those types of things, so that we can maybe come to some recommendations, because there's a lot of variables here. And I see where they need to know kind of where the hard stops are from our side of things too, before they can proceed. So I think those are the parameters that we need to define together.
Yep.
Okay, so maybe then just a direction to staff to kind of set that in motion instead of a recommendation. I think it might be a little bit too premature to go to council just yet, so. And I apologize, I should have introduced Brooke. I should have introduced you to Chris and Gerald and Mary. That's my misstep. Sorry about that. Might be the first time you three have met Brooke, so.
Nice to meet you, Brooke.
All right. Any other questions or comments before we move on? Seeing none, all right. We have that recommendation on the floor, and I think there's enough direction to staff to kind of get this going to the next step and setting up a site visit for everyone to see what we can see and see where we can go, whether it's wider, longer, or higher. So with that, I will call the recommendation. All in favor? Great. Thank you very much, and thanks for your willingness to put some time and expand the current building there. I think it's been there for a number of years, and it's we've always worked well together. I think you said since 1850, and I don't see why we can't continue that partnership going forward. So thanks very much to you guys and to everyone at the Ag Society. All right, moving on. We have another deputation, and this, I don't know, Mandy or Tasha, I know said that the Damascus Community Center reps may not be in on the call.
Hi, Chair
Go ahead,
McCabe.
Mandy.
Thank you, Chair McCabe. Yes, unfortunately, we don't have a representative from the Damascus Community Center on the call tonight.
Okay. Well, then I won't make any recommendations for that, and we'll move on to the third deputation. Go ahead, Matt.
Yep, sorry, through you, Chair McCabe. The items that are on the agenda related to the Damascus Community Center is just kind of a status quo extension of our existing agreement.
Okay. Do you think we can proceed without them? Because I would just hate to do that without them here if we had any questions for them, that's all.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that's in question. The thing that'll be in question, I guess, is the outdoor ice rink, the next item on the agenda, but the agreement itself, I think, is just kind of it's just a carryover of what we've been doing. But Mandy, you could help me out, but I think that's true, right?
Yes, through you, Chair McCabe. So the agreement that's before you, the memorandum of understanding, is it was going to expire in December of this year. So this has just been remade for the next 4 years. It basically talks about the responsibilities of the Damascus Hall Committee and the responsibilities of the township. Not many changes from the previous agreement that we had in place. The schedule A and Schedule B, which include the 2023 conditions of rental and the 2024-2025 conditions of rental. Those just recognize the change of rate to rent the hall for their daily rental rate. But other than that, we have had conversations with members of the Damascus Community Center, and there was no issues raised.
Okay. All right. Well, then, and I'm more than happy to proceed. I know it's haven't read the excuse me, the agreements for Schedule A and B. There's really not that much change as Mandy has said and Matt has spoken to. So I can put the recommendation on the floor that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee receive the deputation, or I would say the Schedule A and B for the Damascus Hall Community Group, and further that the committee recommend the Council of the Township of Wellington North approve the Damascus Hall Agreement. And I'll say that was moved by Dan and seconded by Brian. I really don't have any questions because it's pretty straightforward from the last couple of years and from our last agreement. Do you two have any questions at all? Okay.
No, I'm okay.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Then we can push this to council as well. So all in favor? Great, thank you. All right, we will move to the Damascus Outdoor Ice Rink, and I see Patrick's in on this, and I think is there someone else joining us from or representing? Thought there was someone else, but maybe not.
Hi, Chair McCabe. So just Patrick will be joining us this evening.
Okay, great. All right, I have a recommendation here moved by Brian and seconded by Dan, excuse me, that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee receive for information the deputation regarding the Damascus Outdoor Ice Rink. And welcome, Patrick.
Thanks, guys, for hearing us tonight.
And the floor is yours.
I don't really know where to begin. I guess at the start of COVID, a couple dads here got together at the lake there, and we built a bit of a skating rink across from Charlie's house. It went pretty good for about 3 winters, and then the GRCA shut us down. We tried to kind of plead with them, but you just couldn't talk to them. So I kind of came up with the idea of doing a skating rink at the pavilion at the Damascus Hall. I mentioned it to Jack Benham, and he's on board with everything you mentioned to him. So we had a bit of a meeting there. We got a couple of the dads together, and this is where we're at right now.
All righty. Yeah, it's too bad that you the GRCA wasn't willing to well, not play ball, but skate with you, I guess, on this one.
Yeah, that's just the way they work.
Yeah, exactly. I guess one of the things that I would start with is it is municipal ground, which is fine. We have ice surface. The Optimists put up an ice rink at the Arthur Arena as well. And I don't think, and Matt, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, liability wise, that's all under the township wing with the Optimists. So I would think this would be like a fairly paralleled, if we go forward, it'd be a parallel agreement with the Damascus ice rink. I know in reading your deputation, Patrick, and thanks for being here for this as well, and it's a great idea, I think. We can't kind of label it as just for Damascus only. That's because it is on municipal ground.
Right.
I mean, if there was, and I know in your deputation, if someone was renting the hall, that group would have a crack at the ice rink. But yeah, it just because it's on municipal ground, it can't be kind of deemed as private. So I mean, anyone could use it, and I'm sure you recognize that.
Yeah, we have no intention of excluding anybody from.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be overly policed in that way.
Right. No, and that's fair. I just want to, have to put that out there. I know in your deputation, you're right up there. You talk about putting just temporary boards up and all that kind of great stuff. How do you see fastening them? Are you just going to screw them to the pole, it's a pole barn basically? So you're just going to screw to that, or?
we haven't really got into the nuts and bolts of the building. We do have a couple guys like Ben Presswood's involved, so he's quite the build. Like we'll do whatever the committee basically wants us to do. It's right now it's just an idea. So the nuts and bolts of how they want it done isn't like, if they just want it screwed on there, we'll do that. If they want frames built, we can go further.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, like just for the longevity, if this does go forward, is protecting the poles and making sure that they're going to be able to be used next year and ongoing as well. It is still a municipal property, and we want to keep that maintained as well. And so do you guys, so we have more years of ice ahead of us. Any questions for Patrick while we have him on the call here? Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, just, I mean, if it can work out, I think it's a great idea. It's just it's another asset for the community to use, and for that particular area for people to use in the wintertime. So I think, again, we've always been willing to work with groups in this type of recommendation or idea. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Sure we can make it work.
Great, thanks, Dan. Anything from you, Brian, at all?
No, just other than I think it's a great idea. Local rink, get the kids started skating. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think so too.
Good place for you to learn.
Sorry?
What's that, Dan?
I just said it was a good place for Brian to learn.
Fair enough.
I don't know about that.
Matt, any questions or concerns?
Yeah, through you, Chair McCabe. I think that the use of the rink will have to be coordinated with the Damascus Hall rentals. And the devil's always in the detail, and you were talking about the detail as far as how the posts are being attached and stuff like that. To echo Deputy Mayor-elect Milne, putting a guy like Tom involved with kind of working with that group on what that needs to look like. The other thing I've heard is the hose there is only going to be a smaller hose, and it's not going to be a picnic flooding that rink. In Arthur, I think they've got an inch or a 2-inch hose. So those are realities, I guess, that'll have to be worked through. But certainly a guy like Tom has that kind of experience and would work with the group.
As far as the flooding goes, we have a father who's he works for a construction company, and he's mentioned the initial flood. He could bring a water truck up and take care of that.
Very cool. All right. That hopefully eliminates that that situation.
I flooded a lot of ice with a 1/2-inch hose or even smaller, and it's a great meditation to do that late at night, nice and quiet, nobody around. It's not a bad job.
Just one quick question. What's the lighting there at night?
There is no lighting currently at night, and I think that
kind
plays
of my point. Like, what would we have to do there? Or what are you envisioning there, Patrick?
I think that actually plays in our favor. We don't necessarily want a lot of activity late in the evening. Like I think a couple of the dads mentioned bringing generators up, if we wanted to do something a little bit at dusk, but we don't want a lot of activity bugging the neighbors at 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
Right. Yep. Good. All right. Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? All right. Seeing none. Well, thank you very much, Patrick. We've got this recommendation on the floor, and then as things go, this has to go to the council next, and then we might invite you back and not plead your case, but give us more information as we move on together. Matt, do you need any kind of direction to, again, go have a site meeting with Patrick and Ben or the group of fathers there, or?
Yeah, Chair McCabe, I would say what I'm kind of hearing is that the Recreation, Parks and Leisure Committee would like to recommend to council that this is this rink is a good idea. Is that true or no?
I have no problems with it. I don't, go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, yeah, I think that what I'm hearing anyway is that the committee's, generally is supportive of this. And if Patrick could meet with Tom on site and they can work out how this is going to, the details, as somebody said, bring back the recommendation of how this is going to work, and we can move it ahead to council.
Fantastic.
Yeah, towards that end, Chair McCabe, then I would say that you receive for information the deputation, and then you provide you provide direction to staff.
Yeah.
And then I think I understand what that means.
Okay, great. I think we've kind of mentioned that a little bit already. So I think you've got the direction all right, that sounds good. Thank you. And thanks very much, Patrick, for making the time. I know it's not probably the most convenient, but and thanks for the idea, and thank everyone in your group as well. This won't be the last time we chat, I'm sure. So I will call the recommendation. All in favor? Great, thank you. And again, thanks very much, Patrick, and say hello to Jackie, and we'll see you later.
Yeah, thanks for hearing me out, guys.
Have a good night.
Yep.
All right, moving forward, we have the minutes of the previous meeting from September 6th, 2022. They were approved on September 12th, 2022. I have a recommendation moved by Councillor Yake, second by Deputy Mayor Milne, that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee receive for information the minutes of September 6th, 2022 committee meeting. Any questions or concerns with that meeting or those minutes? I have none, so all in favor? Great, thank you very much. We'll go around quickly and ask if there's any business arising from those minutes. Dan?
Nope, none here.
Great. Brian?
No, sir, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any. Anyone else on the committee have any? Seeing none, we will go to, we're almost right on time. We will just, I guess, mention the ad hoc committee. They did not have quorum at their last meeting of September 13th, 2022. It was scheduled, but like it says in the report or the agenda here, yeah, they didn't reach quorum, so I'm not sure when they're going to meet again, but we'll wait for their next meeting and wait for their next set of minutes. Moving to reports, RLP 2022-019. It's the Swim Pass program, Schedule A, Swim Pass one-page explanation sheet on page 21. I have a recommendation here moved by Brian, seconded by Dan, that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee receive for information report RPL 2022-019 being a report on the Swim Pass program. And I will pass that off to you, Director of Operations.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Chair McCabe. This is just kind of a follow-up. Obviously, we all know that the Mount Forest outdoor pool was closed down this summer. We offered a subsidy to transport people from Mount Forest to Arthur, and this is the follow-up report. It shows that we spent about $1,200. There was a couple families that used it a lot. Generally speaking, anyway, it cost us $1,200. That's kind of a summary of what the report is.
Okay. Any questions on the Swim Pass at all from the committee?
Nope, none here.
I think given the situation, I guess it was the best alternative that I think we could come up with, and wasn't the best situation, but hopefully we can get something going, and hopefully I know it's probably not going to be better this coming year, but time will tell. So I will call that recommendation. All in favor? Great, thank you for that. We will move on to RPL 2022-022, the arena programming. You'll see Schedule A, the Memorandum of Understanding, Arthur and Mount Forest pickleball groups. I have a recommendation here moved by Dan, seconded by Brian that the Rec Parks and Leisure Committee received for information report RPL 2022-022, being a report on arena programming, and further that the Rec Parks and Leisure Committee recommend the Township of the Council of the Township of Wellington North approve the MOU with the Arthur and Mount Forest pickleball groups. And with that, I will pass that over to you, Mandy.
Thank you, Chair McCabe. So the report before you just kind of goes over some of the arena programming. So the Arthur and Mount Forest facilities are now offering fall and winter programming opportunities that further complement the recommendations that are set out in the 2018 Recreation Master Plan. So we have public skating in Arthur on Fridays from 4:30 to 6 and Sundays from 2 to 3:30. In Mount Forest, public skating happens from noon to 1:30 p.m. We also have older adult and parent and taught skating on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at both arenas from 10 a.m. till noon. And Stick and Puck operates in Arthur on Tuesdays from 4 to 5 and Thursdays in Mount Forest from 4 to 5. In addition to those public skating opportunities that are listed above, we've also scheduled public skating on all elementary PD days, winter and March break holidays as well. So really trying to offer programming when families are home and looking for things to do. Just also like to take a moment and thank the generous sponsors that have already come forward to sponsor those skates. So many of them are free for our community. In addition to the skating programs that are outlined, we have many indoor programming opportunities. So we have pickleball on Wednesdays in Arthur from 1 to 3 p.m. and 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And in Mount Forest on Mondays and Tuesdays from 9 until noon, and again 6:30 until 8:30 p.m. We also have indoor walking in Arthur on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 11, and in Mount Forest Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. In Arthur, we also offer a coffee hour from 10 to 11 a.m. And that's to really help those participants enjoy to get out of their house and to not have to deal with the isolation as much. In addition to the activities that I've just listed, there are a number of programs that are also offered at our facilities through our community partners. And those include shuffleboard, euchre, bingo, exercise, and organized walking groups. So this next part I will turn over to Tom just to discuss, and it has to do with the memorandum of understanding between the Arthur and Mount Forest pickleball groups. Basically, it is a Wellington North program, but there are some requirements that both parties have agreed to in order to operate that program within our facility.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom. You're on mute, though.
There we go. Through you, Chair. Yeah, the memorandum of understanding, we started with one. We've had to revise it because we had some issues and things to tweak because it's a new program. I think the understandings we have with them now should serve for a long time with these groups. We actually did start with a Thursday night stand-alone program in Mount Forest. It just didn't work out with the attendance and with the amount of things that the volunteers had to do. So they've scrapped that one and stuck with the Mondays and Tuesdays. Arthur, we've had no issues midweek. It's a good time for that program to be on. So yeah, it seems to be working. There's some little hiccups here and there, but we keep working with the groups and we'll keep it going.
Great. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Mandy. Any questions from the committee? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Mandy.
Sorry, Chair McCabe. I'd just also like to point out in this report, there is also mention of a customer concern. So a customer concern regarding the cost and availability of indoor walking in Arthur was recently brought forward. Right. And the concern is primarily related to the cost associated with walking and the number of available days. So I just wanted to bring that forward to committee's attention.
All right, thank you. And I'm sure you've seen the citizens' letter. Were there any comments or concerns with that in specific? I know it'd be nice to have the auditorium. I know there's not a dedicated walking track like there is in Mount Forest, and to have them walk indoors instead of outdoors during the winter months, I think would be ideal. And I'm hoping that we can come to some sort of a, I guess, a pass or something like that, if you want to call it that, for I guess to take care of the concerns that this a resident in Arthur has. So. Tom, I just have one quick question for you. Before this memorandum, you had said that there was not trouble, but there wasn't that much attendance in Mount Forest.
Just on the Thursday night. It was a standalone night.
Right.
They do better on the Monday because they have it through the day, then the evening, Tuesday evening. And
Okay, so yeah, that's, I guess what I was going to say. So the attendance is not really that much of an issue anymore.
it's better on the Mondays and Tuesdays.
Okay, good. All right, thank you for that. Any questions or comments for Tom and Mandy while we have them on? Okay, seeing none, thank you. I will call for that recommendation. All in favor? Thank you very much. And we will move on to RPL 2022-020. It's the 2023 rates and fees amendment, and Schedule A 2023 rec rates and fees amended. And I have a recommendation here moved by Brian, seconded by Dan, that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee receive for information report RPL 2022-020, being report on the amended 2023 recreation fee rates and fees. And further, the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee recommend the Council of the Township of Wellington North approve the 2023 recreation rates and fees as amended. I will switch the floor over to you again, Matt, for any questions or comments that the committee may have. But go ahead, floor is yours.
Yep, thanks, Chair McCabe. The next two reports are kind of their fees and charges revisions. So certainly open to answering questions. But the next two sections of the agenda have to do with 2023 and 2024 fees and charges.
Great, thank you. And I'm sure we've all read them. Have anyone in the committee have any questions regarding the, we're going to do this again in 2 seconds with the 2024 amendments and fees, but we'll stick with 2023 before we get too far ahead of ourselves. Any questions or concerns with regards to the 2023 amendments? Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Steve. Matt, I'm just wondering, was there a consistent percentage applied to the rates to come to a new rate, or how? What was the process there to arrive at these figures? Please.
I'm going to have to defer that to Mandy Jones.
Oh,
Chair
sorry.
McCabe.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Mandy.
Sure, through you, Chair McCabe. So for this report that's in front of you, the 2023 report, it really is just some amendments to 2023 rates that were already set last fall in 2022. And it's to reflect the operating practices that are already in place. So for example, picnic shelters such as Murphy Park, Lionville Moody, and the Arthur Optimuses, those are not currently charged for. They're on a first come, first serve basis. So we're just trying to recognize that within the rates and fees. Bronze Medallion, Bronze Cross, those were addressed during Resolution 2022-255. So again, just reflecting those changes specifically for this. When we did set these rates and fees in 2022, we did try to apply a 3.5% increase overall, and that was to support the 2% cost of living plus a 1.5% increase for our Explore Recreation Perfect Mind software and online payment system.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Brian, and thanks for the explanation there, Mandy, as well. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. Seeing none, I will call for the recommendation. All in favor? Thank you very much. And on to the next item is RPL 2022-021. It's the surprisingly 2024 rates and fees. The attachment you'll see on page 36. I have a recommendation that the Recreation Parks and Leisure Committee receive for information report RPL 2022-021, being a report on the 2024 recreation rates and fees, and further that the Recs, Parks and Leisure Committee recommend the Township of the Council of the Township of Wellington North approve the 2024 recreation rates and fees. And I'll say that was moved by you, Dan, and seconded by you, Brian. And with that, I will pass that over to you, Matt, or maybe Mandy again, if there's any questions or concerns.
Thanks, Chair McCabe. Just, I think in this instance, the 2024 fees are maybe 1.81% increase over the 2023. So that's kind of the percent increase 2023 over 2024. And that's only because Mandy's texting me and telling me that. So.
Great for technology. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
So why then, Matt, in the report, does it say they're increased 2.5%?
Oh.
Or am I not reading that right?
Go ahead, Mandy. Sorry,
Thank
Matt.
you.
Go ahead, Mandy.
Thank you.
They were texting.
Through you, Chair McCabe. So overall, it reflects an average of 1.81% increase. Specific to halls and auditoriums, that's a 2.5% increase. Special user rates 1.38 and so on. So overall, when you look at all of the increases that we applied to the rates and fees for 2024, it's 1.81%, but then we broke it down specific to each section.
Very good. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thanks for that, Brian, and thanks for that, Mandy.
Just didn't want to let Matt off the hook that easy, but no, good job there, buddy.
For the 2024, can it be amended if need be? Like if all of a sudden say costs go through the roof, this is something that we can revisit further down the road. Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions or concerns? All right, seeing none, the recommendation's on the floor. All in favor? Great, thank you very much. And moving forward, excuse me, to RPL 2022-023, cancellation and refund policy update. There's Schedule A, recreation programs, cancellations and refund policy on page 41. I have a recommendation here moved by Dan, seconded by Brian, that the Recreation, Parks and Leisure Committee receive for information report RPL 2022-023, being a report on updating the recreation programs, cancellations and refund policy, and further that the Recreation, Parks and Leisure Committee recommend the Council of the Township of Wellington North approve the Recs program cancellation and refund policy as updated. Wow. I'll say that was moved by you, Dan, and seconded by you, Brian. I will pass the floor over to you, Mandy.
Thank you, Chair McCabe. So the recreation programs cancellation and refund policy was created in 2019 in conjunction with the introduction of the summer day camp program. So we're really seeing this more as a housekeeping item, as the existing policy that we're using does not accurately reflect the current procedures related to cancellation and refunds. So the proposed updated policy is attached as Schedule A, and really it's a little bit of a softer approach. The existing policy that we have is pretty firm in terms of how we apply refunds for people who withdraw from programming. So this updated policy, basically what we've recognized is that we do have a number of people on our wait list. And there are times where parents or guardians do need to remove children with valid reasons at the last minute. And we don't want to apply those hefty fees to them. So this new policy just reflects that we can apply the $10 administration fee if we're able to move somebody in from the wait list. It also allows a little bit more flexibility where people can withdraw their children a little closer to the start date as opposed to what we had before.
Great, thank you for that, Mandy. It's nice to see that there is a wait list for this. I think it's a great program that, I guess, would that be, how many years now has it been running?
So with our day camp, we ran our first year in 2019. We took
Right.
2020 off, and then we ran 2021 and 2022.
Right, okay, good. So yeah, it's going to be good going into 2023. Any questions or comments from the committee?
No.
All right, thank you, Mandy, for that. And I will call for the recommendation. All in favor? Great. Thank you very much. You might as well stay on camera because we're going to go into excuse me, the summer programs. RPL 2022-024. I have a recommendation here moved by Brian and seconded by Dan that the Recreation, Parks and Leisure Committee receive for information report RPL 2022-024 being a report on summer programs. So Mandy, I'll pass it over to you in continuation with the summer programs.
Thank you, Chair McCabe. So this is quite a lengthy report, but what it goes over is both the aquatics programming and the summer day camp programming, the various costs associated with that, as well as any challenges that we might have experienced. So as you're aware, in June of this year, the Mount Forest pool was closed, and we introduced the Swim Passport program, where we were able to support 7 families with that program at a cost of $1,200 total. I am just going to kind of quickly go through the report because it is quite lengthy, but I'll pick out some highlights from that. Our swimming lessons, they were really well received. We were able to introduce classes again this year, which was really exciting. So for the first 4 sessions, we had our standard classes, and then our last session, we did offer private lessons only. Overall, we offered 72 classes and we had 201 attendees, which was great to see. In the report, you can see the ones that are most heavily attended, which would be Swimmer 2, Swimmer 1, and Preschool C. We also were able to break out the where our participants would come from for swimming lessons. So of interest, 57% of swimming lesson registrants resided in Arthur, 20% resided in Mount Forest, 10% resided in rural Wellington North, and 13% were coming from our neighboring municipalities.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. Our Bronze Medallion and Bronze Cross program was really well received this year. And as a follow-up to our committee meeting on June 7th, there was a question asked whether or not we would see an increase based on the drop in fee. So just to follow up from that conversation, that while we can't say that cost was the only factor in the increased registration, we did hear that it was viewed very positively by those who did participate. Additional reasons for the increase in registrants include the time of day and that the program was offered in Arthur this year. Swim program admissions. So we were open for a total of 56 days over the summer, and we averaged 52 customers per day. That does not include those registered in swimming lessons. And in the chart below, you'll be able to see that the afternoon weekday public swim was the most heavily attended program, followed by the weekday evening public swim. In total, we sold 17 family passes, 12 individual passes, and 3 aquafit passes. So a total number of swim program admissions of 2,932 over the summer. Fundraisers and new programs. So this summer, the township, again, we were able to offer the pizza and pop fundraiser during swimming lessons, which the kiddos always love. And speaking from a parent perspective, I also love because I know I don't have to cook dinner that night. So that's always well received. And the total funds raised combined with miscellaneous revenue for that was $163. So a nice little fundraiser that our lifeguard team put together. Yeah, in addition, this year, we offered something called the Life-Saving Olympics, and it was held on August 18th from 7 to 8 p.m. It was for individuals ages 12 to 16. So those that are kind of starting to think about, hey, would I want to become a lifeguard? Is that something that interests me? That was the demographic we were trying to target. In total, we had 10 youth join us for that event, and they were introduced to life-saving skills and activities, and parents were welcome to watch. Overall, that program was very well received, and we're looking forward to offering it again next year. Challenges this summer, unfortunately, we did feel the staffing crunch like most industries. So that was a bit of a challenge. We had to change our programming. We weren't able to offer the full suite that we typically would. But with that said, if we didn't have our dedicated lifeguards, both the full-time and the part-time team, we wouldn't have been operational for as many hours as we were. And overall, we really just want to commend the lifeguard team for their hard work and their professionalism this summer. It wouldn't have been such a successful summer without them.
Great. Oh, sorry, keep going.
No.
Yep.
All right, keep chatting here. So just we're going to continue with our retain, recruit, and succession plan. So we're going to try to continue to retain our current lifeguards through covering 100% of costs associated with their qualifications. And we'll continue to try and recruit by covering 50% of new lifeguard qualification fees. And then for succession, we are trying to lower the cost, again, with the Bronze Medallion and the Bronze Cross programs. And also we're trying to build excitement around becoming a lifeguard through that program, such as the Life Saving Olympics. So those are kind of some things that we're working through. In addition, it was brought to staff's attention that the Upper Grand District School Board is offering a program called the Leadership Aquatic Program, and it's advertised as the perfect program for high school students who want to earn school credits and achieve their aquatic certifications. So basically, students would pay a $20 admin fee, and they're able to get credits through Upper Grand District School Board and the SHSM program, SHSM, Specialist High Skills Major Program, to offer this program to those students. That's kind of the aquatics update.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments for Mandy? I have one, and thank you for the report. It is in depth, and it gives us a good idea of what all has gone on. And I think anyone on this committee can see that, you know, the splash pads, like they're always great at the start, and then they kind of plateau. So it's nice to see that they're still being used. And then obviously the pool being busy in Arthur at the pool in Mount Forest, again, reiterating that we got to do, that's just been a pain. We'll get through that. My question was with the Bronze Medallion uptake, and I'm not sure what the flow through is for lifeguarding, but what do they have to take? Is that like the next step after bronze? Is that life guarding course the next, or?
Yeah, so thank you, Chair McCabe. So once someone turns 13, they can take their Bronze Medallion course. Then at 14, they can take the Bronze Cross course. And at 15, they can take their National Life Saving Pool course, as well as their swim instructor's course. However, they can't work officially as a lifeguard or swim instructor until the age of 16.
Right.
So they could take those courses at the age of 15. It's just we can't hire them as full lifeguards until they are 16 years of age.
It almost sounds like we have a few good people in the hopper coming down the line, hopefully to replace staff that we will inevitably leave. And touching on that, I know staff was taxed to the max, and I think they did a great job with the hours that they provided and the hours that they could provide. So kudos to the team there as well. I know they were overworked, but it was nice to see people pretty well from all over the township, rural Mount Forest, and of course Arthur, using the facility as much as they did. So any other comments or questions for Mandy while we have her here? Great, thank you very much, Mandy. And with that, I'll call the recommendation.
Sorry, Chair McCabe, could I quickly?
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yep. Yeah.
Sorry. Thank
Please.
you. So the second part of this report is to do with our summer day camp program, which operated from July 4th to August 26th. We ran in a new facility in Mount Forest, and we capped registration at 26. And Arthur, we maintained 32 campers per week. It is shown in the chart within the report. In Arthur, we were 98% full capacity, and in Mount Forest, we were at a 96 full capacity. So really great numbers. The reason why we would see some the 2% and 4% not hitting the 100% would be to child illness, which we did have to deal with this summer. Of course, we were pretty flexible. If a family called us and said, you know, our child is ill, we're not going to be able to make it, then we would offer refunds for those families because we want those children and our staff to stay safe and healthy. So our enrollment was great. We were really excited to see the numbers that we did get this year. Fundraising and new programs. So this summer we continued to offer our pizza lunch on Fridays, and we added a hot dog lunch on Wednesdays. Both of those programs were voluntary. If parents wanted to participate in them, they were welcome to, and they were very well received. So they were also a really great fundraising option for the programs. Arthur brought in $648 in additional revenue, and Mount Forest was $527. We also, yeah, really great. We also went out to some local businesses to see if they would support us financially to further enhance our programs without having to put the costs onto our families. And we were successful in getting quite a few sponsorships. Walker Industries provided us with $1,500, which was incredible. We were able to use that towards busing our campers to the Norgan Theatre to watch a movie. They got their popcorn, drink, and treats completely covered. We were also able to use those dollars to bus the Mount Forest camp down to Arthur to use the pool during Wet and Wild Week. So they got to experience the pool as well. We had Coffee Property Management provide us with $100, which went towards ice cream. Arthur Foodland, the ice cream cone company, and the Old Hound also all supported the program, further enhancing it for our kiddos. The new location in Mount Forest at the Curling Club was really well received. It was great being so close to downtown. We were able to walk to the library twice a week. We were also able to utilize the splash pad and the baseball diamonds, which was really great for adding programming. In Arthur, we were in the Upper Leisure Hall, and it has been a really great location for the summer day camp program since our inception in 2019. One of the challenges with that location, though, is that it requires exclusive use from July to August. And that's because we have a lot of decorations, supplies, personal information being stored on site. So we can't have rentals going in there just because there is that private information. So with that in mind, and in addition, because we can't book it out, that leaves only the auditorium as an option for rentals during those summer months. So we did approach the Arthur Curling Club about using their space on an exclusive basis for next summer. The Curling Club has agreed to a staff proposal and would allow us exclusive use from June 26th until August 30th. And similar to Mount Forest, staff would have access to that space during the month of June to prepare for the program. The costs associated with renting the Curling Club were captured in the operating budget and would be carried to the 2023 operating budget as well. So that's something that we are exploring so that we can have that space opened again for rentals this summer. And then finally, just the county fee subsidy agreement. So in 2019, we entered into an agreement with the County of Wellington for purchase of services fee subsidy agreement. Unfortunately, as our camp is only operational for 8 weeks during the summer, the administrative requirements of that agreement are really quite cumbersome. So what we are doing instead this year is we're going to be directing families to the Children's Foundation Free to Grow program, the Canadian Mental Health Association, Family and Children's Services, and the Canadian Tire Jumpstart program. I'm sorry. we are not alone in not having an agreement for our day camp program. Both Minto and Mapleton also do not have the fee subsidy agreement for their day camp programs, and they also utilize those funding opportunities that I mentioned above. And then I just would like to touch briefly on our financial considerations. So overall, our combined aquatic program cost was $62,630, and that included $27,000 in the Mount Forest pool, because we decided to close the pool later in the summer. We did have costs associated with opening and operating that pool. And then from the summer day camp, our combined program revenue was $3,650, and we actually made money on the day camp program. It is important to note that Canada Summer Jobs plays a huge role in having a surplus with the day camp program. Without the support of the finances that come from that program, there would be a slight loss for the day camp program. So just want to make note of that. And that's everything.
Thank you very, very much for that. It was a big report, and I think you captured all the high points on it, Mandy, and I didn't mean to cut you off there, sorry. Yeah, it's been busy there, and I think with regards to the county and Minto and Mapleton not having their subsidies yet, is there any timeline on that, do you know?
Yeah, so the agreement was basically carried on year over year until one or either party decided to terminate. So we have sent a letter of termination to the county, just making them aware that we won't be participating for the 2023 season.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any questions or comments for Mandy on that? Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I just wanted to say congratulations, Mandy. It sounded like you had a very successful summer with your the day camps and everything else that was going on. So well done, and congratulations to you and your team. And hopefully it'll carry on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, those kind of numbers, I mean, you got to expect for sick kids and stuff like that. So those numbers through the day camp and the participation percentages are just fantastic. So again, yes, I'll echo what Councillor Yanka said, and just fantastic job, and look forward to seeing what we can do next year as well. So any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, I will call that recommendation. All in favor? Thank you, and thanks again, Mandy, for that report and for the presentation of, I guess, the highlights of that presentation or agenda package tonight. All right, going on to RPL 2022-025. This is the splash pad use. I have a recommendation here moved by Dan, seconded by Brian, that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee receive for information report RPL 2022-025, being a water volume comparison for the Mount Forest and Arthur splash pads. Tom, the floor is yours.
Well, first, I shouldn't have to follow Mandy with giving out all that information. Mine's going to seem a little bit boring. It's just water volumes. Now, this wasn't requested. Last year, you guys, somebody on this committee requested water volumes for our splash pads. So we thought we'd just follow up again this year with it, just to see how it's gone for the year. Over a year, and see how comparison for Mount Forest too, because it was new, and things have changed. The volume in Mount Forest, you can see that it's dropped over 1,500 cubic meters. Arthur's dropped 200 cubic meters, but Arthur isn't down to where it normally runs. And there's things that that impact it. The newness of the splash pad in Mount Forest, a lot of people used it the first year. It's starting to fade a little bit. It'll probably go down a little bit more next year. Arthur, the volume is staying fairly high. That's because we put the new playground in right there. That park is very busy all the time. And with that pool being open, there was a lot of people around there all summer long. So yeah, these are the volumes. If there's any questions, it's just numbers, and good to see numbers, I guess.
All right, thanks for that, Tom. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Tom, for these numbers, because I'm always interested in these because I've been an advocate for splash pads for a few years. Just haven't had any luck here in Southgate to get traction for that yet, but maybe someday. But in any case, the hydro and water expense, that water, that's town water, obviously, and it just goes straight through and right into, does that go into the sewer system, or does that water, is it able to go into the stormwater system?
That goes into the stormwater system.
Right. Okay. So there isn't a cost. That's just the cost to treat and pump the water. You don't have to.
That's the cost for the water and the hydro that goes to the splash pads.
Right. Right. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Yep, thanks for that, Brian. And maybe this term of council in Southgate, you can get that working.
Well, if you guys don't build a pool, then maybe we'll do a splash pad in Holstein and you can fund it instead of us funding your stuff. Maybe would that, could we work something there?
I don't have any more hair to go gray, Brian, but I'm sure it can fall out.
Well, Tom looks like he's agreeable to something like that. Maybe Brooke would like to start off by, parting with some money. I don't know.
I'd support that, Brian.
Thanks, Dan. You've always been a big supporter. I appreciate that.
Amazing. No, that's good. And I think that is kind of what you would expect a bit, wouldn't you, Tom? Like, like I said earlier in the meeting, like something brand new, all the kids are using it, and then it kind of plateaus a bit, but still being used, which is great. And I still think they're great items to have in the, kids. I think that's the whole purpose of splash pads. You don't have to pay for it, like residents don't have to pay for them. They can be used during the hours of operation. So it's a nice amenity to have. And again, thank you guys for maintaining them, and obviously thank the service clubs for putting them, like fundraising to put them in and have them available for our township. So any questions or comments? Great, thank you very much, Tom. I will call that recommendation. All in favor? Great, thank you very much. We'll move on to items for consideration. Brian or Dan, do you have any?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
None here.
I don't have any. Matt, I see you popped up.
Yep, yeah, not until the roundtable, Chair McCabe.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I don't have any right now either. Yeah, so we can move on to the roundtable, and yeah, Matt, if we want to go right to the community garden update, that'd be great.
Yep, there was an email sent around today, just that Elsa Mann and her group have a way forward, and they've kind of organized a community event at the end of the month. So I know she's hopeful that some members of council will attend it. Yeah, that's kind of the community garden update.
I wonder, and I know we talked about this about the letter earlier, and I should have thought of it then. I'm not sure, Brian, did you get a copy of that letter at all?
I don't remember seeing it if I did.
Okay, maybe we can forward that to committee member Milne as well, just to give him a shakedown of it. If you want to kind of elaborate just a little bit on it, Matt, while we have him.
I think they had a grant opportunity prior to March, and I think they've secured some land, and they're looking to do kind of a grand opening, not a grand opening, but a kickoff later this month. They don't really let out where the land is, the best I can tell. But they've got a partner in the community, which is a good news story.
Yeah, I think it's great to have some land that is being donated to them for this. And it's a pretty cool project. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I was just gonna say, we've had a community garden project in Dundalk now for, I think it's 3 or 4 years, and it's been very popular, very well received. And, you know, it's in the park that is right downtown. Contrary to what you might think, there's been very little vandalism or any trouble of that nature, and which is heartening to see. So no, it's a great program, and I wish the organizers great luck.
Good. That's good to hear that it's been going on that well in Dundalk, and that no cause for concern with vandalism or
Nope.
anything in that nature. So very good. Thank you for that. Matt, any questions, Dan, or comments?
No, it's a good idea.
Yep, I think so too. Great. Okay, moving on. Tom, I guess we'll call you up to the stage with a little report about Spanky's Barbecue Concessions update, please.
Okay, as you guys are aware, we did sign an agreement with them for 1 year for both concession booths, Mount Forest and Arthur. He's trying new ideas, expanded some of his hours. He's got an expanded menu, not the traditional hot dogs and hamburgers that you get in the concession booth. He's got some other things that I've tried a couple of different things. It's good food. It's a pain having him outside my office and the smell of fries all day, but hopefully he does a good job here. He's just trying to capture a market. He's been open 11:30 in the morning through the week till 8:30 at night. Weekends he's 8 to 8:30. That's in Mount Forest. In Arthur, he's open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday down there. He's still trying to find the go of it. He's been open a lot longer here, so he's got some social media marketing going on. Hopefully he does well with his drawing in of people. And hopefully for all of us, it proceeds well and we can sign him to a long-term contract or something in the future. So it's been working out in my mind. It's brought a little bit more volume in, not so much in the mid-afternoon, but he's got a bit of a lunch crowd.
Good. That's good to hear. And I haven't been to a Patriots game yet, but I imagine he'd be fairly busy during that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He likes those. There's a lot more customers there.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, it's supposed to be a hard winter, Tom. So keep the intake up.
He doesn't have salads, you know that.
Well, salad's no good in January.
That's good. Thank you. And it's nice to have him on board and in at both concessions in Arthur and in Mount Forest. And yeah, their uptake might be a little bit slower in Arthur, but hopefully he sees the benefit, and I think we'll see the benefit, and then he'll come back as well for long term, like you said, Tom. So thank you very much for that update, and I'll keep you on board with the staffing challenges update as well.
Yeah, it's gotten a little bit better, but as you guys know or are aware, October 17th we did have an issue. We had a staff member call in sick that day. I had no one to replace him. He was off sick for 4 days. We did replace his other 2 shifts. Unfortunately, on the 17th, we had to close the Arthur Arena because of that. We are in better shape now. We've had 2 new part-time employees hired on. We're still looking for 2 to 3 more arena attendants. We just brought another one on board today. So we're getting there. It's been slow. The next thing will be to retain them and not lose them to other municipalities. I know they're looking for someone in Harrison right now, or Minto. So hopefully we don't lose any of our part-time guys going over there for a full-time position.
Yeah, it has been a bit of a challenge, and I'm glad to hear that we're hopefully not through it yet, but heading in the right direction. Brooke, I see your hands up.
I'm just going to say we should consider all you can eat at Spanky's to retain them.
Now you're talking. Yeah.
That's why he's the CIO.
I like that kind of thinking. Yes, sir. Just maybe not to longtime staff like Tom.
That's good. Thank you. Thanks much for that, Tom. And then Matt, I will call on you for the welcome of the community recreation coordinator.
Yep, yeah, thank you, Chair McCabe. And if I can sneak in something just first, at the Arthur Arena, we are working on a roof project. It's coming in a lot more expensive than what we thought. So staff have looked at getting a repair done that will buy us some time. The repair is $15,000. The roof will be part of a capital ask that might be $1 million. We're still trying to work on the numbers. But I wanted to raise that for committee's awareness. We need to fix the roof in Arthur. We've known about it since 2019. It's to a point where it needs to be fixed, and I think $15,000 is what we're working with as a cost. So I just wanted to throw out that out there in case anyone has any questions about that before I get into the welcome, which is a lot more better topic than what I just was talking about.
Yeah, when Matt, when you and I spoke about the arena roof in Arthur, it's outrageous. It's almost outrageous. I mean, in 2019, I believe it was around 235, 240 to fix the roof only 3 years ago, and now it's tripled, almost quartered. Sorry, I guess it's quadrupled. Sorry, get my math right. It's just amazing, and I know, you know, everyone uses the excuse for supplies and COVID and all this kind of great stuff. You've had some sort of estimates though, right?
Yeah, they're, to your point, Chair McCabe, they're quadruple what we were seeing in 2019. But until we go to market and kind of get a price, we don't know. We were working down a path where we were gonna try to do a repair before the end of the year, but it would have been, yeah, we think it's gonna be probably $1 million, but we're still working through what that exactly will look like. And in 2019, certainly we had an engineer's report that said 230,000. They're big numbers.
Yeah, it's huge. Maybe we can go back and hold them to their price.
Huh.
But I doubt it.
I wouldn't want them putting on the roof. They're better on the computer and with math than they probably are building a roof. That's some of the inherent problem, right? But also prices are hard to guess right now.
So the repairs that need to be done on the Arthur roof, what's the status on that then?
So staff has a
Like
quote.
the most immediate one. Sorry, Matt.
Yep. So staff has a quote, and I just wanted to raise it to this committee's attention. Staff will proceed to get the immediate ones done, but certainly it's going to be a part of the capital ask in 2023 that the Arthur and Area Community Center needs a new roof. That's going to be almost the entire capital budget ask for rec. Because you need a roof. Otherwise, you don't have an arena.
Right.
Yep.
Which, anyway, just it's the way it works, I guess.
Well, Mount Forest has experience with an arena without a roof, so
I've heard that story here. Yeah, I heard that story.
it's not all bad. It's a little bit of shoveling, but it works.
We'll get the mayor of Southgate down when that happens.
He can
Yeah.
learn to skate. He can learn
Yeah.
to skate and shovel.
Right.
Yeah. There you go. Well, if it's all you can eat, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are tough.
Always a
numbers,
bonus.
holy moly. And we'll have to get through that for sure in the next budget in 2023. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, well, and through you, Chair McCabe, can I go to the fun part as far as welcoming the new community recreation coordinator, Tasha Graff?
Yes, please.
And I think we're all familiar with Tasha, and she's going to do a great job picking up for Mandy. The flip side of that is we're going to lose Mandy for a period of time, and that's not a great news story. So it's bittersweet, but what I would say is Tasha, we know what we're dealing with and we're pretty impressed. Mandy, we know what we're going to be missing, and that's just the way it's going to be for a period of time. So it, yeah, it's
The circle of life.
a
Welcome,
circle.
Tasha.
Yeah, welcome, Tasha. You'll do a great job.
Yep, welcome, welcome, Tasha. And I know Mandy has some big shoes to fill, but we've worked together for a number of years now and have complete faith in your ability. And yeah, looking forward to working with you in the next little while while Mandy takes care of some stuff at home.
Thank you.
So welcome. Any questions or comments for Tasha aside from that? And I would thank Mandy for her dedication and in-depth reporting for the last number of meetings here, and wish you nothing but the best while you're off, Mandy. Congratulations and best of luck.
Thank you, Chair McCabe.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
For sure. Best of luck, Mandy.
Thank you. And
Before we go to the adjournment, I just want to thank you, Dan. Not only for your years of service on this committee, but for your years of service, all of your years of service in the town of Mount Forest, the amalgamation, and in the township of Wellington North. I had a kind of a hard time writing this little blurb. Not that it didn't come easily to me, it's just that there's so much to say. The breadth of your experience is amazing. What you've done for this rec department through your experience through the Mount Forest build and throughout the township will not be forgotten, I know, by me. Most of all, your respect of the chair that you hold, and the respect of the people on staff, and the respect of the people on council, and your respect for the people of all the residents of Wellington North is the most genuine I've seen in some time, especially this day and age with politicians. I wish you nothing but the best. Of course, I know you have an operation ahead, so wish you the best of luck on that as well. And I know, thanks for everything that you've been a part of here, Dan, and I mean that with all sincerity and grace, and look forward to seeing you again. And I'm sure this is not the last we've heard of you. So I cannot thank you enough for all, again, just what you've done here. I have learned a lot from you. I don't know how you've been able to keep your hair dark and mine has gone gray, but that's a secret you can hold to yourself. But again, with all sincerity, Dan, I appreciate everything that you've done, and without you, we wouldn't be here where we are, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Much appreciated. You think you had a hard time? You should have saw me on Friday. I was a babbling mess, but anyway, no, I just, I wish the committee all the best going forward. You got a big, lots of challenges ahead, and, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be around. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, Dan.
Here, I have your number, so I know where you live.
All righty. I'll be here.
Kim will want you out of the house anyway.
Yeah.
I do apologize that I missed your presentation on Friday. I was down at a conference away from home for the week, so I apologize that I missed that, Dan.
No problem.
But it was nice pictures of your wife and daughter.
Yeah.
In the Bambino.
They deserve the attention. They do, really.
But very
True
good.
story.
Again, thanks very much, Dan.
Thank you.
And with that, I have a recommendation moved by Dan and seconded by Brian that the Township of Wellington North Recreation Parks and Leisure Committee meeting of November 8th, 2022 be adjourned at 5:53 p.m. All in favor? Great. Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks for your time and
Thanks all.
to the agenda and to this meeting.
Yep. Take care.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Bye now.
Yep.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.